Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. It's been at least 5 minutes since I talked about Blackstone Fortress, so I thought I'd do it again. You see, today I received my copy of White Dwarf magazine. This is the September 2019 edition, and it includes some new Blackstone Fortress content. So we're going to take a quick look at it and see what it brings to the game. There are two distinct things that have been added. First of all is, if we go to page 48, we have a section called Kill Team Escalation. I'm only touching on this very, very briefly because I actually want to talk about the specific Blackstone Fortress content. But these are rules that allow you to use all of the miniatures from the Escalation expansion in your games of Kill Team. And also, in a previous White Dwarf magazine, they actually included rules for using the boards, the maps from Blackstone Fortress for playing Kill Team. So between those and this, you're getting quite an interesting little expansion pack for your Kill Team games. The most interesting thing about this, I think, is it says here, beta rules. The rules presented here are in a beta state. As such, they might change over time or be reprinted elsewhere with modifications. We would like to take this opportunity to allow players to give us feedback on these rules. So that does suggest to me that these rules, this Kill Team, will be appearing in another form at some point later down the line. It's perhaps being considered for an expansion pack for Kill Team itself rather than just exclusive White Dwarf content. But this is your first opportunity to get hands-on with these new rules, and it includes rules for the Cultist Firebrand, the new Cultists, Aradia Madeline, Gottfried de Montbard, X101, Daedalosus, Naem Shai Marad. So it's basically every miniature from the Escalation expansion. Like I say, I'm not going to go into that in any more detail, but those options are there for Kill Team players. I am much more interested in this other content. So we have here a section called the Brogan Brothers, and what this is a way of introducing some additional retinue characters to your team. Retinue characters were first introduced in the Escalation expansion. Character X101 wasn't actually a hero you could choose to take. He was a character that you would find on your adventures, and then once you had found him, he would tag along if you wanted him to, and he was always under control of the current leader player, and he had a very streamlined set of options. He wasn't very interesting. He wasn't like a character in his own right. He had some basic combat and movement options available to him, and he didn't actually use activation dice or destiny dice. He always had a fixed number of actions. And when I was looking at Escalation as a product, I did say I'm interested to see if they're going to expand on this retinue character concept and introduce more characters. And lo and behold, here we are in White Dwarf magazine with two new retinue characters. They are the Brogan Brothers. They are Ogryns. So you will need some Ogryn miniatures or some proxies, some miniatures that you can represent as Ogryns, either some ogres or trolls or big orcs, some black orcs or something might do it. Anything like that, really. If you want to actually build the miniatures that we have here, we actually have one is a Bullgryn with a power maul and a shield, and one is an Ogryn bodyguard with a Ripper gun. If you actually want to create those miniatures, you need to buy the Ogryn box set, and I am aware that some people have been confused by the Games Workshop website, because Games Workshop does this thing where if they produce a kit that can make different types of miniatures, they will list it on the website multiple times. So they will list it, in this case, an Ogryn's box set can actually make Ogryns or Bullgryns. So they will actually list it under Ogryns and they will list it under Bullgryns. And at first blush, you may think it's two different boxes and you need to buy both to make these miniatures. You do not. You need to buy just the Ogryns box set. That will make you 3 Ogryns or 3 Bullgryns. There's an option for making a named hero, and you can make any combination thereof. So one purchase of one Ogryn's box set will get you both of those miniatures. But anyway, whatever you're using for your miniatures, you're ready to begin. With retinue characters, they aren't immediately available to you. You have to acquire them. And what they've done here is they've actually included a special mission where you have to go into the Blackstone Fortress to find one of the Brogan brothers that has gone missing. And if you find him, from that point on, you can hire either of the Ogryns for any particular expedition as a retinue character. And the way retinue characters work is they basically are controlled by the leader player, and they have, like I say, very simple rules. They don't use destiny dice or activation dice or anything like that. And they can't power up, they can't get items or anything like that. They are very much just an extra body on the battlefield. But in the case of Ogryns, very powerful fighters that can really make a difference. I would say if you've got one of these in your party, you're going to have a much easier time of it. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about introducing these characters. If you're already having a very easy time of it with the game, you may want to perhaps introduce some house rules to offset the introduction of using the retinue characters. Before we actually look at the Brogan brothers specifically, I did also just want to mention here, it says, adding more retinue characters. Precipice is populated by a diverse collection of individuals. Representatives of many different facets of Imperial life have found their way to the station, along with members of dozens of different alien races. This has allowed us to pick some great Warhammer 40,000 miniatures and present them as retinue characters so that they can use more models in your games of Blackstone Fortress. This suggests to me that we may be seeing more retinue characters in White Dwarf, or maybe even some kind of rules supplement that works in conjunction with, rather than having new miniatures specifically created for it, some kind of supplement that will work with a range of different miniatures, very similar to like the hero packs or the monster packs that were previously released for Silver Tower and Shadows over Hammerhall. So that is something to look out for as well. I would assume at the moment that it's just going to be something that they're going to keep doing in White Dwarf, but there's certainly an implication that we are going to be getting a lot more retinue characters coming our way, which cannot be a bad thing. So anyway, we have two retinue characters. We have Gren is our first one, and unfortunately they didn't include the cards. It would have been nice if they'd included the cards, but who's up for a nostalgia kick? Who wants to go and cut out their cereal box? Because that's what we've got to do here. So we have the front and back of the card. Gren is armed with a Ripper gun. He has D8 defense, D6 agility, and the D12 vitality. And he is huge, so nobody else can stay in a space with him. He only has the one attack action, which is the Ripper gun, which if he shoots at close range, he can re-roll failures, so he's got the capacity to put out a lot of damage, especially when you look at his special rules. He doesn't have activation dice, but he is allowed to take 3 actions in a turn, and his action choices are Ripper gun, move, and recuperate. So he's probably going to spend a lot of time shooting his gun. The interesting thing is, because Ogryns are not so smart, he only gets to do that if he starts his activation adjacent to the current leader. If he is not adjacent to the current leader, you get to activate this ability instead, Where's the Boss, where he will take up to 3 movement actions to get closer to the boss, and if he can't do that, then he instead just goes nuts with his Ripper gun. So he's very powerful, but he's actually even got 5 wounds. So he's very powerful, but he's limited, and if you don't use him well, a lot of the time he's just going to run around like a headless chicken trying to stand next to the boss, because that's what he wants to do. He's a bodyguard, he wants to get close to the boss and stay standing next to that particular character. So you need to think ahead, plan what you're doing, and make sure that you're getting the best utility out of him. He has a secret agenda for inspiring, and it is basically if the leader gets a grievous wound, then he will inspire. He will try harder, boss. he still has the same basic options available to him, but his special ability changes. And we can see that it changes to leave the boss alone. So he will, instead of running towards the boss, he will take 3 Ripper Gun weapon actions instead, and will only move if there are no visible hostiles. So he basically just becomes killier. He goes a bit savage. So there's that. He also gets a 4th action as standard if he is adjacent to the leader, so he can really lay down some firepower. And obviously his close range and medium range attacks get better as well. So he is very killy, perhaps too killy. I think having him in your team, as long as you're thinking ahead and making sure that he's always close to the leader, I think he's going to be laying down a lot of firepower and causing a lot of damage. The second Ogryn is the Bullgrin. It's Dorg, and Dorg is the reason you can't immediately hire these characters as retinue characters, because he is missing in the Blackstone Fortress, and over the page there is a specific mission for acquiring him, for finding him and saving him. He has I like this. His standard quote is "Nothing gets past Dorg," and then when he inspires, it's "Nothing thump gets thump past." So that's a bit of fun. Yeah, he's moved 2. He's huge again, so he's in a space by himself. D12 defense, D6 agility, and a D12 vitality. So very, very resilient. He has the Battle Maul, which is only a close range weapon, but it causes an additional wound if it inflicts any damage. So that's nasty. His special rules are keep it simple, so you don't roll the activation dice, and instead he takes 2 of the following actions. He's allowed to do Battle Maul, move, recuperate, and he has the unique action Guard. When he takes the Guard action, he can re-roll failed defense dice until the next time he's activated, or until he's taken out of action. And he also gets to make an immediate attack against the first hostile that moves adjacent to him in the same turn. So it's basically like going on sentry. It's going on Overwatch. He puts his shield up, stands there, takes the brunt of the impact from the enemies, and will take a quick swing with his maul if he gets the chance. His secret agenda is slaying a hostile with the Battle Maul. Then he will go into savage mode. His stats don't change, but obviously his Battle Maul powers up, and he also gets the new ability Shield Slam, which comes with its own special thing. It says, battered into senselessness. If the attack roll for this weapon action is successful, the target is stunned in addition to any wounds they suffer. He still only gets to take 2 actions, but he gets Battle Maul, move, recuperate, or guard. When he's on guard, that's... Have they omitted Shield Slam there? Yeah, they've omitted something there. I'm assuming they've done a cut and paste error there. I believe those special rules shouldn't say keep it simple anymore. I think, at a guess, I would say that it adds the Shield Slam as an attack option, and he probably gets a 3rd action, because he only gets 2 actions as standard, and his brother gets an additional action when he inspires, and X101 also got an additional action when he inspired. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a cut and paste error where they've actually reproduced the content over there. And I'm going to assume he gets 3 actions, one of which is the new Shield Slam option. But that's a bit of a shame that is omitted. Maybe I've missed something. This is sort of my first look at what we're getting here. Having only received this magazine half an hour ago, I haven't had a chance to read it in great depth, so maybe I have overlooked something. But there we go. So anyway, here is the quest to recruit the Brogan brothers. Don't worry about spoilers. I'm not spoiling anything by showing you this, because this is a special thing called a side quest, and I believe this is the first time that they've done this. So again, this may be something that Games Workshop is going to introduce into future expansions or future issues of White Dwarf. But basically, a side quest is something you can choose to do at any point, even if you're on an existing mission, and you pause your existing mission. So things like legacy cards won't be added. If you're doing the escalation mission, which has the menace tracker, you won't add any more menace tokens to that tracker while you're doing this. It's a sort of a one-shot, do it at any time sort of thing. But you may want to wait until you're not doing another mission, so keep it set aside as something to do in between other missions in your downtime. And it is basically just a one-shot combat called Dorg's Last Stand. And it's quite cool because Dorg is basically lost in the Blackstone Fortress, and he's down here, and he is being persistently attacked by Urgals. And the heroes turn up, they have to battle their way through the maze, and they have to basically clear out the Urgals and be standing defiantly with Dorg to save him. And if you do that, you win the side quest, and from then on you can hire Dorg or his brother at the beginning of any expedition to introduce them as your retinue for that particular expedition. It should be noted, for this particular combat, it is using the Cultists and the Firebrand from the Escalation expansion. So you are going in. You can trade out those units for other things. Stick some Traitor Guardsmen in there. Maybe use some Chaos Warriors or something instead of the Firebrand. Or if you've got the Traitor Command, you could use the Chaos Ogryn or something instead. But rules as written, you are using stuff from Escalation. So if you don't have Escalation, that's something to bear in mind. That's pretty much it. So it's a simple combat to rescue Dorg, and if you do, you can add him and his brother as retinue characters, and that is that. I don't think there's anything more to say at this particular point. There's some interesting stuff in here, the reference to other retinue characters. Perhaps we're going to see more of that. The fact this has been introduced as something called side quest, which maybe we'll see more of that. It's an interesting time for Blackstone Fortress players. I think these are the groundwork for more stuff to come. I certainly hope so, because Blackstone Fortress is one of those games that I just want to keep expanding. I want to keep exploring the world that it's in and finding out more. It is a shame that I think there is an error on that card. I mean, maybe that will be corrected at some point. But I guess that's it. I need to go and buy a box of Ogryns. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments and queries below. If there's anything you feel I haven't covered, or if you have any questions about things you'd like to know a little bit more about, do feel free to drop a message down there. I do my best to respond to everybody if I can. Thank you very much, and hopefully I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.